When humanity fell into corruption, the world stood on the edge of destruction. But one man heard the voice of God and obeyed. He built an ark, a vessel of salvation against the coming storm. Then the floodgates of heaven opened, and the world was swept away. And even today, the ark's final resting place still holds secrets untold. In the days of old, when the earth was filled with violence and corruption, the Lord looked down from heaven and saw that every thought of mankind was only evil, continually. The book of Genesis tells us that in his grief, God chose to wash away the wickedness of the world with a great flood. Yet in his mercy, he spared one righteous man, Noah, and through him, preserved the seed of humanity and the creatures of the earth. The story of Noah's Ark is perhaps one of the most famous accounts in the entire Bible. Children learn of it in Sunday school, artists paint it in churches, and even skeptics know the tale of the great vessel that carried life through the waters of judgment. But there is a question that has echoed for thousands of years. Was the Ark real? And if so, where is it now? For centuries, believers and explorers alike have pointed to one place again and again, Mount Ararat, a snow-capped volcanic mountain, being over 16,000 feet above the plains of eastern Turkey. It is here, according to Genesis 8:4, that the Ark came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. But could it be that somewhere on that rugged peak, hidden beneath ice and stone, lie the remains of the greatest ship ever built? The ancient story and the mountain of mystery. The Ark itself was unlike any vessel the world had seen. Scripture describes it as 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. In modern measurements, that is nearly 450 feet in length, longer than a modern football field. Built of gopher wood and sealed with pitch inside and out, it was designed not for speed or elegance, but for survival. It was a floating sanctuary, a refuge in the storm of divine wrath. When the rains fell for 40 days and 40 nights, the waters rose higher than the tallest mountains. Every living thing outside the ark perished. But Noah, his family, and the creatures within endured. After 150 days, the waters began to recede, and the ark came to rest, not on some unknown plain, but specifically on the mountains of Ararat. For thousands of years, this verse has focused the world's attention on a single mountain range. In ancient Assyrian and Armenian traditions, Ararat was already seen as a holy place. Pilgrims whispered that the ark's remains were still there, preserved in the snow. Medieval travelers claimed to see its dark shape jutting out of the ice, and local villagers spoke of wooden beams on the mountain, far above the tree line, where no timber should be found. Could all these voices be telling the truth? Or were they merely legends growing from the fertile soil of faith? The modern search. In the 19th century, Western explorers began to climb Ararat. Some claimed to see unusual rock formations, others reported fragments of wood. One Russian expedition in 1916 supposedly discovered a massive wooden structure high on the mountain. But political upheaval soon silenced the story, and the records disappeared. After World War II, interest rose again. American soldiers stationed in Turkey reported sightings from the air. One pilot described what looked like a giant ship-shaped object protruding from the glacier. Satellite imagery later revealed a curious formation on Ararat slopes, known today as the Ararat anomaly. But because the mountain sits in a politically sensitive region near the borders of Turkey, Armenia, and Iran, access has been extremely limited. Even today, expeditions are often denied permits, or turned back by military patrols. Yet perhaps the most famous discovery did not come from Ararat's peak, but from a nearby site known as the Durapana Formation. In 1959, a Turkish army captain named İlhan Durapana spotted a boat-shaped outline on aerial photographs. Measuring over 500 feet in length, the structure appeared to match the biblical dimensions of Noah's Ark. Over the decades, various researchers visited the site, testing the soil and the surrounding rocks. Some claim to find petrified wood, fossilized rivets, and even impressions of stalls and decks. Others dismissed the formation as a natural geological feature, the result of landslides and erosion. The debate has raged for more than half a century. Each new test seems to raise more questions than answers. Skeptics argue that no wooden structure could survive for thousands of years in such conditions. Believers counter that God could have preserved it, or that the remains may be fossilized rather than more timber. Some suggest the Ark may lie deeper under the ice, still hidden from human eyes until the appointed time. Theories, evidence, and skepticism. So what are we to make of all this? On one side, we have eyewitness accounts, local legends, satellite images, and boat-shaped formations. On the other, we have scientific caution, geological explanations, and the silence of hard, undeniable proof. For example, the Ararat anomaly captured in Cold War satellite photos has never been fully explained. Some say it is a trick of shadows and ice. Others insist it is the unmistakable outline of a massive man-made structure. Expeditions to verify it have often failed due to politics or weather, leaving the mystery unresolved. Similarly, tests at the Durapuna site have yielded intriguing results. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed patterns consistent with man-made walls and chambers. Metal detectors have identified unusual readings at regular intervals, as though metallic fittings were buried beneath the soil. But critics argue these could be natural mineral deposits, not ancient craftsmanship. The scientific community remains divided, with most mainstream archaeologists unwilling to declare the site as anything more than a natural curiosity. And yet, faith does not rest on science alone. For millions, the Ark's reality is affirmed by the authority of Scripture itself. To them, the debate is not whether the Ark existed, but whether the world is ready to see it again. Why the Ark matters today. Why does the search for Noah's Ark captivate so many? Perhaps it is because the story is not merely about an ancient ship, but about the nature of God Himself. The Ark was more than wood and pitch. It was a symbol of salvation, a testimony that in the midst of judgment, God provides a way of escape. When we look at Mount Ararat, we see more than a mountain. We see a reminder of both wrath and mercy. We see the devastation of sin and the hope of deliverance. The Ark stands as a foreshadowing of Christ Himself, who, like that vessel, carries us safely through the storm of judgment into new life. In a world drowning in uncertainty, political turmoil, climate change, wars, and cultural division, the story of the Ark speaks louder than ever. It tells us that God has not abandoned us, that when the waters rise, He provides a refuge. And whether or not we ever uncover the final resting place of the Ark, the truth it proclaims remains unshaken. The ongoing mystery, to this day, the mystery endures. Explorers continue to climb the slopes of Ararat, braving avalanches and glaciers. Drones and satellites scan the ridges, searching for clues. Every so often, a new report surfaces, another photograph, another testimony that sparks debate anew. And still, the mountain keeps her secrets. Some believe the Ark will never be found, that God has hidden it to preserve its sanctity. Others believe its discovery will come in the last days, as a final witness to the truth of Scripture. Whatever the case, the Ark has already fulfilled its purpose. It saved humanity once, and its story continues to save souls today. As we close this journey, imagine standing on the slopes of Mount Ararat. The wind howls across the snow, clouds gather around the peak, and somewhere, beneath the ice and stone, may rest the silent remains of a vessel built by faith, sealed by God's command, and carried across the flood waters of judgment into a new creation. The question lingers, is it still there? Perhaps the answer is not only about wood and nails, but about hearts willing to believe. For just as Noah trusted God and entered the Ark, so too are we invited to enter into the greater ark Jesus Christ, through whom salvation is found.